All right, let's jump right in. We're going to travel back in time, but not to the front lines you might be thinking of. Nope, we're heading to the American home front during World War II. This is a story about what it was like to grow up when the whole world was at war. A story about three kids trying to figure out mischief, friendship, and what honor really, truly means. You know, this quote from back then just hits it perfectly. For families all across America, the war wasn't some distant thing on the news. It was a constant presence. It was the shadow that hung over every part of daily life, this unspoken anxiety, like a silent hum of dread in the background that you just couldn't turn off, even if you were a kid. And that hum of dread, it leads us right here to Billerica, Massachusetts in 1943. The war effort is going full tilt, and life on the home front is this strange mix of totally normal kid stuff and, well, the extraordinary. It's a world filled with tension, rationing, and a whole lot of quiet fear. So picture this. Your daily life is broken up by the sound of wailing air raid sirens and frantic blackout drills. You can't just go buy candy or fill up the car. You need ration stamps for everything from gasoline to sugar. And for so many, the war was hitting incredibly close to home, with fathers and brothers constantly shipping out. And right in the middle of all that, we meet our guys. Leo, Wayne, and Buddy, three completely inseparable friends. So these boys, like pretty much everyone else, are just caught up in this giant wave of uncertainty. And their story really kicks off with what we're calling the fall. It starts with a simple act of kid rebellion that ends up setting them on this incredible path to redemption. I mean, think about it. This is the real question they were dealing with, right? When your whole life is mapped out by ration books, blackout drills, and news from a war you have absolutely no control over, how do you make your mark? How do you feel like you're in charge of anything? Well, for a bunch of 12-year-old boys, the answer wasn't exactly deep. It was smelly. And that was really it. Their motive was that simple. As one of the boys, Wayne, said years later, it felt like we decided something for once. In a world that told them what they could eat, when to turn off the lights, this one tiny, foul-smelling act of chaos, that was all theirs. Of course, that feeling of control didn't last long. The stink bomb goes off, the room empties out, and the look of pure disappointment on their scoutmaster's face, that was way worse than any yelling they could have gotten. And the consequences were very real. A full week of latrine duty at summer camp. The prank shadow had officially fallen, and man, the guilt was heavy. But here's where it gets interesting. They took that guilt and they actually did something with it. Leo was determined to make things right, and he cooked up this plan to turn their stinky mistake into something that actually mattered. They were gonna go from a prank to a purpose by organizing a huge scrap metal drive for the war effort. So this plan, it became their quest. This wasn't just about getting out of trouble anymore. This was about proving to their scoutmaster, to their families, and honestly, to themselves, that they were more than just a bunch of troublemakers. They were scouts, and they were ready to do their part. And they moved so fast. The idea literally came from wanting to make things right. Leo felt the weight of it all so much, he even prayed with his grandfather's old St. Michael medal from the Great War, just hoping the plan would get approved. Then his grampy, who worked at the rail yard, pulled some strings and got them permission. Within a single week, these boys had organized their entire troop and collected a literal mountain of scrap metal. They blew their scoutmaster's mind and even got their picture in the local paper. And just to give you some perspective on how big a deal this was, look at this number. Their little drive in their little town was part of a massive national effort. During the war, Boy Scouts across the entire country collected over 210,000 tons of aluminum. That's just aluminum. These kids weren't just playing games, they were a serious part of the home front mission. So all that hard work did a lot more than just clear their names. It earned them this incredible, once-in-a-lifetime reward, something that would totally change how they saw the war. They got a private tour of a real warship, the heavy cruiser USS Boston, right before it shipped out. Being on that ship must have been amazing. You're surrounded by these massive 8-inch guns, the cold steel of a war machine. It was a thrill. But then, as the tour was ending, a sailor from Tennessee pulled them aside, and his friendly voice got real quiet, real serious. He warned them with this slow, steady drawl to think real hard before they went flapping their jaws about anything they saw. And right there, in that moment, everything shifted. That kid-like excitement just vanished, and in its place was this sudden, crushing weight of responsibility. The boys just looked at each other, and without saying a single word, They made a silent pact. This wasn't a game, this was a call to duty. Their senior patrol leader, Michael Summerlot, made it official. He raised the scout sign and he gave his word for every single one of them. On a scout's honor, we will not let out a single secret. Just think about that. They went from setting off a stink bomb in a meeting hall to being trusted with actual military secrets. Their redemption was total, but their story was not over yet. So this new maturity, this unbreakable bond they had, it was about to be put to the test. Not by spies, military secrets, but by the classic chaos of summer camp. So welcome to Camp Abenaki, where you've got mosquitoes, pretty terrible food, and a brand new, very unlikely leader. Everybody, meet Lieutenant Nutty. This ridiculously feisty red squirrel basically adopted Leo and Michael's new patrol and became their unofficial mascot. He was quick, he was smart, and he was always trying to steal their food. Basically, the perfect inspiration for a patrol of young scouts looking to make a name for themselves. And he inspired this, the absolutely legendary patrol cheer of the Red Ace Squirrels. It became the talk of the whole camp, partly because it was so spirited, and, well, partly because of a double meaning the boys didn't quite catch until after they'd already yelled it in front of everybody. It was just a perfect moment of pure, goofy kid camaraderie. But all the laughter and the fun of summer camp, it couldn't keep that shadow of the war away for long. The final, and maybe the most important lesson of their entire summer was about to come crashing through the gates of the camp, tragically and suddenly. One morning at the flag ceremony, their world of s'mores and silly patrol cheers just collided head-on with a brutal reality. The camp director announced that a naval aviator, who was the father of one of the scouts at camp, had been killed in action. All of a sudden, the war wasn't some distant idea. It was a grieving family standing right there. That night, sitting around the last campfire, their scoutmaster, Mr. Telford, put everything into perspective. He told them what Scout's honor really truly meant. It wasn't just some words you say in a pledge. It was this. It's the courage to do your duty, especially when everything is falling apart. It's the bravery to do the right thing no matter what it costs you. That was it. That was the bridge between a childish prank and a sacred trust. The boys' story is just such a powerful reminder that honor isn't about being perfect. It's about learning, it's about growing up, and it's about trying to do your duty no matter how small you might feel in a world that feels way too big. And their journey leaves all of us with that timeless question, the one at the very heart of the Scout motto: are you prepared?